Already introduced Dr. Renick, but would you like to say some words about him?
I want to brag about him because
You've done that before.
I've done that 2 years ago. I bragged about Georgia State University, and in particular the Panther Grant program, which was an innovation of the university in which Dr. Renick uses today to see to his students almost on the verge of dropping out because of a minimal financial problem, get a minimal financial need met so they can stay in school and graduate. I think it's interesting to know that other than Panther Grants, they've also developed a student tracking system that tracks over 30,000 students at the university and measures them against 800 unique identifiers, which indicate pitfalls they could actually have towards graduation. So Georgia State's doing a remarkable job, and most notably of all, they now grant more bachelor's degrees to African American graduates of any university in the United States of America. Very proud to have Dr. Renick here today, and very proud of Georgia State University.
Thanks, Senator Isakson. Dr. Renick.
Thank you, Chairman Alexander, Ranking Member Murray, and the committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Senator Isakson, in particular, thanks for your leadership and support of higher education in Georgia. A decade ago, the odds that Georgia State University would someday be invited to testify at a hearing on student success seemed very remote. Georgia State's institutional graduation rate stood at 32%, and underserved populations were foundering. Graduation rates were 22% for Hispanics, 29% for blacks, and 18% for black males. As Atlanta and Georgia were being hit hard by the recession, the challenges intensified. Georgia State lost tens of millions of dollars in state appropriations while simultaneously doubling the number of at-risk students that it enrolls. Today, our 32,000 students are 63% non-white and 59% Pell eligible. Ours is now one of the most diverse student bodies in the nation and one of the most at risk. These are hardly the typical ingredients for a turnaround. Despite these odds, under the leadership of President Mark Becker, we made a public commitment to develop a model that would allow students from all backgrounds to succeed at high rates. Using data proactively, we identified obstacles that trip up our students and pioneered a dozen innovative and large-scale programs to help. For example, as recently as 2011, Georgia State was dropping more than 1,000 students every semester from their classes because the students couldn't cover all of the costs of their tuition and fees. Disproportionately low income and first generation, many of these students were seniors who were only a semester or two away from graduating. With balances of as little as $300, dropping these students was heartbreaking and made little sense. In 2011, we created Panther Retention Grants as a response. The program awards one-time micro grants to cover the balance between what students can pay and the cost of their tuition and fees. From modest beginnings, we have now brought 5,300 students back into their classes via this program alone. Among the senior recipients, more than 60% graduate within 2 semesters of receiving the grant. And because the funding goes exclusively to cover tuition and fees, 100% of the grant monies come back to the university, making the program not only the right thing to do, but financially sustainable as well. Our GPS advising system addresses another major problem that hits at-risk students particularly hard: poor academic decision-making. Using 10 years of Georgia State data and over 2.5 million grades, we have created predictive analytics to identify when students first get off track for graduation. We are now tracking 30,000 students every day for 800 different risk factors, ranging from students who register for classes that don't apply to their degree programs to those who underperform in prerequisite classes. When a problem is identified, an alert goes off, and the advisor assigned to that student reaches out to help, typically within 48 hours. Last year at Georgia State, we had 43,000 one-on-one meetings between advisors and students that were prompted by alerts from our GPS advising system. And because students are making fewer mistakes, we have reduced the average time to degree, saving our students and taxpayers millions of dollars. Such interventions are in many ways just common sense, but they make a huge difference. Georgia State University now graduates 1,700 more students annually than it did just 5 years ago, and confers more bachelor's degrees to African Americans than any nonprofit college or university in the nation. Our graduation rate has climbed 22 percentage points overall, with the biggest gains being enjoyed by student populations that once struggled the most. As a result, all achievement gaps based on race, ethnicity, and economics have been eliminated. The impact has been so transformational that in this coming January, we will be consolidated with the largest 2-year college in the state of Georgia, with the goal of leveraging our new programs and technologies to benefit an additional 22,000 students. Even prior to consolidation, Georgia State was committed to broadly sharing the approaches that we have developed. We have hosted visiting teams from 160 campuses over the past 2 years, and we work closely to share practices with groups such as Complete College America and the urban serving universities of the APLU. We are a founding member of the University Innovation Alliance, a coalition of 11 large public research universities enrolling more than 400,000 students and dedicated to improving student outcomes, especially for low-income students. Such collaborations we are using to greatly accelerate the pace by which innovative new approaches to student success are adopted nationally. Collaboration across institutions is perhaps the most promising path to transforming student outcomes at scale, but here we need your help. Amid the competitive, ranking-conscious world of higher education, we need to find new ways to incentivize collaboration. Federal grant programs, for instance, too often reward the efforts of a campus or two to implement the tried and true, rather than supporting ambitious proposals to test and scale transformative ideas across broad groupings of universities. We need to find more nuanced ways to determine when and how students are given access to federal aid. We should empower campuses to use data intelligently to target federal aid to the students who will make the best use of it, and create greater flexibility in eligibility rules for students demonstrating strong progress towards completing their degrees. And if we're truly serious about increasing completion rates for low-income students, we need to curb the predatory institutions and lenders that target them and promote meaningful literacy training so that students will use their federal aid more wisely. Georgia State University still has much work to do, but our story demonstrates that significant improvements in student success can be achieved through embracing inclusion rather than exclusion. It shows that, contrary to popular belief, students from all backgrounds can succeed at high rates, and that dramatic gains can be made even amid the context of constrained resources. Georgia State's story is indeed improbable. That's the problem. It is time we made it the norm. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rich.